going on, SSBL peeps? Welcome to episode 6 of Jacked. Wow, we have been
We
six
did
episodes,
it. We did it,
six
everybody.
episodes
Episode
in.
6.
We are
Episode 6,
we are
everybody.
staying consistent with the viewership. Teetering between 25 and 30, mid 30s is typical. So it's very nice to see. But thank you for joining us here on the next episode of Jacked. My name is Jay Wood, alongside Fisac. What just ended? Week 6 just ended?
Yeah, it's episode 6. It's a fun little hot tip there. The weeks and the episodes match up.
I did that on accident, but I'm so glad I did. Well, we are here to discuss week 6 and obviously discuss the week ahead, which is a Super Saturday week, one of our favorite weeks here in the SSBL. We're going to get right into the recaps from last week. Some crazy matchups, a lot of just drama happening within the SSBL. We're going to start off with the Lumberjacks. Lumberjacks coming in facing the Express, who is, as you've mentioned multiple times on this podcast, the Express could well be 500 with their luck, but
they should have been here too. I mean, this was a game. I mean, the Lumberjacks again. The Express out-hit the team they're playing against. They out-hit the Lumberjacks by 1, but 7-6. Like, I'll tell you what, this Express team, especially with what they have brewing in the minors, like they could do some damage in this Legends because there are some pretty big holes in all of these teams, except for the Lumberjacks, which don't on paper have a hole, but do have a hole in terms of the pending cliff of their players as well as their performance. Like they just seem to always play down to their competition. It's just a 3-2 win here over the Express, but man, the Express, I hate commentating Express games because I always get my hopes up just to be dashed upon the agonies of the world.
Right, so I'll go ahead and just say this real quick about the Express final schedule. I'll read it. They go and they're at the Moonshots.
Yes.
Week. We have the Wrong Fielders. That one, the Wrong Fielders are such an interesting team. We don't know. The Express could well win that one. Then they face the Sparrows at home. Okay, and then they go on the road twice. Vikings and Walkers. One of those is winnable. Vikings might be less winnable than that of the Walkers, and then they end their season with the Liberty. That could be a nice little string of wins for this Express team to really finish their season off still out of the playoffs. Not saying they're making playoffs, but they end their season on a high note.
Does this mean that you're removing yourself from the Mythic Wojak and putting yourself on the Express Wojak with me?
Not yet.
Come on!
I'm still sporting the blue. But no, I think it's a very interesting schedule to end this for this Express team, who, like you said, could be 500. Imagine if they were 500 right now and they picked up an additional 5 or so wins to end the season or in the playoffs. That's how they were. If you think about it, they were this close to making. Chase Clout.
Chase Clout, man. We'll talk about the Knights of the Express a little on this game recast. But yeah, tough loss for the Express, but they seem to get the rebound back.
And we move on to a massive win in the Epic. The High Rollers get a big win over the Wildcats. Your thoughts on this game? High Rollers, who were struggling there. I think when they started off 3-0, lost 3 straight, and now they're on a little roll, no pun intended, here in the Epic.
Yeah, I mean, the reigning Season 7 Super Series champs, we knew that their retitle bid was going to be a tough one just because we didn't think that the High Rollers were the strongest squad last season, and yet they were able to get through the Bombers and the Unicorns and then also beat the Vikings for their first ever Super Series. And they, lost some parts in the offseason as well, but they have been battling well. And I think that the battle that we were expecting in the Novas is kind of manifesting itself into the Phenoms now, where we always thought that the Phenoms were going to be a tough battle, but we thought the Novus was going to be a top to bottom, 1 through 4. Every team's battling to get wins. It's basically just become a ball player stingers race. But for the Phenoms, like the High Rollers are very much inserting themselves back into the equation after a little bit of that skid, and with the Bombers falling off, with the Serpents, only a half game ahead. That was a little bit of a Freudian slip there. Only a half game ahead. The Hyrule, I mean, a huge win against the Wildcats, who, up until this game, the Wildcats had only lost to the Unicorns. Wildcats did not have a good week, but it was a massive statement win for the High Rollers.
Absolutely. Which, I think this, with how their schedule plays and how the Serpent schedule plays as well, this is really going to set up to their week 11 day one matchup. Serpents, High Rollers. High Rollers losing the first one, 1-0. They'll get the revenge on week 11 day one. That is the May 16th. So not too far away, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, tough loss for the Wildcats, but a great win for the High Rollers. Moving on, Gauchos slay the Dragons, but it's a close one. It's a close one, a very close one. I was pulling for the Dragons to beat the Gauchos, but the Gauchos did get the best of the Dragons at the.
I was really happy with how the Dragons performed. They did well late. Ting got lit up, but I mean, with the Gauchos batting order, that's just kind of expected. What I was really happy about was the fact that they put up 4 earned on Weber through 3. That was an incredible late surge, and there was actually almost a point in which the Dragons were one swing away from potentially walking it off, which would have been a huge, huge win. But Dragons are not the top dog in the evolution. The evolution is very much the Gauchos division to lose. We kind of expected that going in, and we expected the Dragons to probably be the only team that could sort of compete in terms of battling for it. But I think out of all the divisions that we have across all 6 divisions, the Gauchos winning the evolution is probably the biggest lock that we have. I'd probably say potentially Unicorns in the Galaxy would be the next closest lock that we have. But I mean, the Gauchos, they've started to show a little bit that they've got some that, especially given the way that this game is RNG. Like, all it takes is a good, back half of an inning against one pitcher, and if the opposing team doesn't give up too many runs, they're within. Now, the issue is not giving up more than 7 runs to the Gauchos order, which is very much possible on any given night. But the Gauchos, they're finally starting to get some games under the belts now. Finally starting to get. I mean, this was just their first go through of the second rotation now. So
Finally getting their games in, which took forever it seems. But they do get that win over the Dragons, a big division win, which will actually go ahead and move on to our next 2 games. They both include the Unicorns. The first one, this is within the Galaxy. The Mythic get destroyed by the Unicorns 12-1. And then after that, the Unicorns the following day start the stream off with a 5 or 12-2. Excuse me, it was.
it's not to say I didn't want to.
I didn't have. I had the schedule pulled up over my notes here. And then the Unicorns lose. Not lose. They win 5-0 over the Angels the following day. So a 17-2 week for the Unicorns from an offensive perspective. It's Unicorn. It's exactly what you expect from the Unicorns lineup, especially against 2 very weak teams. Your thoughts on these two games?
Yeah, not much to really pull from these games, just the Unicorns taking care of business. I think any team playing the Mythic or the Angels, this is just taking care of business. And if you don't win, that's where the question marks arise, which that's not a foreboding statement in any regard
No.
at all. But yeah, for the Unicorns, they came in at 6-1. Wildcats were at 6-4. End of the week, they're at 8-1. Wildcats are at Wildcats came in 6-2. Literally, Unicorns went 2-0, Wildcats went 0-2, which is why the Unicorns are the second closest lock right now in terms of wrapping off a postseason spot and wrapping up a division slot in the Galaxy because of those really good wins.
Yeah, and I did the magic number, I believe, for the Unicorn. We're at 5. the current magic number to lock in the playoff spot. If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, we're at 5.
As we get closer, I'll put together the whole magic number thing. I'll put it where the free agency 2 order is right now. That'll change for the winning number and the losing number in terms of the picks and the winning number in terms of the magic.
Moving on, High Rollers, another big time win, another division win, and they get the series win over Bombers, 3-0 victory. This is, High Rollers showing up again, and the Bombers just kind of falling flat. Talked about just before we got on here, the Bombers are the best team on paper, and then they come out and they put up nothing on the. Your thoughts on this game as High Rollers get that crucial victory?
I mean, it definitely again, like this game is baseball in general is a game of luck, and especially in the SSBL, who knows what's going to happen at any day. That's why we moved to 16 games in a season, a little bit less RNG, hopefully, in terms of who the better teams are and who they aren't. I think the biggest thing to take away from this game, though, is the Bombers losing Demons and one Murph Kelly that they just got. Uh, to long-term injury for Kelly. He won't be back for another 4 weeks. I know that Whitney has sort of been like, oh, woe is me. Bombers aren't going to make it. I genuinely do still think the Bombers are going to make postseason. I know it doesn't look great right now with them being at 429, but I do genuinely think that they've only, as you were talking to me about before for the recording here, they've got games in hands, and like one win puts them only 1 game back from the High Rollers, who are sitting in 5th, and if they win their next 3 games, they would tie the Wildcats for that 6th slot at 6-4. So I don't think that this is the season over for the Bombers, but I do think that this really strongly affects their ability to potentially win the Phenoms. I
Yeah.
think that it does put in a little bit of a dagger towards that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it more in our, panic and chill segment in regards to their schedule leading into the final half of their season. We move on to the Dogs getting a big time win over the Overdrafts. This one, kind of proves that the Retrievers are here to play, and puts that Icons division, even though they aren't in first place yet due to just obviously the winning percentage, but they're sitting now at 4-2, and they're in the driver's seat with the head-to-head over there.
Yeah, and if the Retrievers were to win their next 3 games and be on the same number of games played as the Overdrafts, they would be 7-2 and they'd be leading the Icons. This is something that we said about the Retrievers where they had a slow start in both offensively as well as in terms of the number of games that they played. And we were wanting to see more from them because of the fact that they only beat the Express by 1, because of the fact that they only beat the Liberty by 1, because of the fact that they lost to the Walkers by 2 runs. So we're wanting to see they need to play up to their competition if they're actually going to do some damage in the Icons. Now, luckily for them, the Overdrafts have fallen back to earth a little bit, and this is a huge win for them. Now, what I'm wanting to see from the Retrievers is turn this into a streak. And if they do, I think that proves that they are indeed they've gotten back onto their footing in terms of leading the Icons, because they play the Romfielders, the Gauchos next. Then they get a little bit of a break with the Moonshots. They play the Vikings, then the Angels, Overdrafts. But the Retrievers, this is a huge step in the right direction, but they need to follow it up, because if they start dropping games again, the Overdrafts do have a significant lead right now in terms of the number of wins.
Moving on, the Gauchos just bury the Liberty 16-1 victory. I mean, I don't really know. Running is just kind of, he's got a great campaign though. Got a wonderful campaign. If he was literally running for president of whatever, I would vote for his campaigns, because he has some great stuff, like Uncle Sam type stuff that we see here. for the Liberty, but a
The
16-1 win.
propaganda the propaganda is rampant. Imagine if like that's the actually the way that like politics and like running a society worked was like if you could like actively like tank and then be bet like I don't know what the like equivalent or what the invisible hand of the market would be for like lottery picks for tanking an economy or something like that. But the thing with the Liberty is I think that he knew that they were going to be bad, but I don't think I think he was expecting it because a lot of these talking to these managers, they do want to lose, but they want to lose by like 1 run, so
Right.
that way they don't lose out on like stats progression, which is debatable in terms of the actual effect that would have. But it's still just so funny that after that was the game that was like, all right, it's over, everybody, we're done now. It's just funny to me that
That
was the
game.
decision,
Yep.
Mark.
16-1. Gauchos do what the Gauchos do. They get their another victory and move up their lead in that revolution. I just said
They're in the Liberty or
no,
the
the
oh yeah,
Gauchos.
the Gauchos are in the Evolution, yeah.
Evolution. The the
The
the lib
heroic
well
revolution. It's the
the
Liberty
Liberty's
will lead
campaign
it.
the Liberty's
The Liberty
campaigns
will
are
lead the
getting
heroic revolution. They've already got the papers and the posters.
uh moving on to another blowout win, this time the ball players blanking the Mythic with an 11-0 victory. Not really much to say of this game. Ball players doing what the ball players do, just playing ball, you know? They do.
Yeah, and we've been throwing out these things about the ball players they haven't been dominant in their wins. They haven't necessarily played the best teams, and when they do play the best teams, they only win by a little. They're still 8-1, and I don't know about you, Josh, but I would like to be 8-1. I think being 8-1 would be pretty cool.
It would feel
So
real good.
I think until the ball players have an atrocious loss somewhere, I think we need to just let them be for right now because as of right now, especially the way that their division is shucking up, they can very much go toe to toe with the Unicorns to see who gets that 1 seed as of right now. Those are the two
Yep.
favorites for the 1 seed in the Epic.
Yep. No, I think it's going to be, it's the ball players and, being obviously founder of the league, but seeing the ball players dominate again as they did in season one, it reminds me very much of that season one. So I am pulling for the ball players to make a run. They do play the Unicorns 3 games from now. Unicorns. That'll be a very good matchup to watch, which we're going to move into the final day of week 6. This is the midday stream that you did. This was probably the best stream of games that came out of nowhere, to be honest. Obviously, ball players started it with 11-0, but the final 3 insane games, absolutely insane. And we start off with the Express getting their revenge on the Knights, and we got a clip for you guys. They absolutely, history repeats itself, and here they are, the Express getting their revenge.
Number 33.
That ball is in well. Tracking back at the track and robbed by DDC. Nearly back-to-back dingers and saves.
Dead center as well. It's a different ballpark, but dead center. DDC robs Rock back of a home run, and it would have been back-to-back jacks as well. That's the craziest part.
Shaz Leathers had just gone deep into center, had just gone in, and we're starting to think this is where it falls off. This is the Express we're talking about. They always seem to lose these close games in which they're the better team. It's not just like, oh, this is an expansion side squeaking it out. They get more hits than the other team. They have more base runners than the other team. They seem to have more dangerous positions than the other team, and they can't seem to close it. Go all the way back to just the Express's second game of their franchise history in that 6-5 loss to the Knights. Chase Cloud, a sub, comes in and robs it. And DDC, off of what would have been a momentum swinging home run. Because if that goes yard, all of a sudden it's tied at 2-2. Given the Express's bullpen, given with the Knights being up to bat, you have to give the advantage to the Knights at that point. And
Yep.
just to get revenge and do the exact same thing, a taste of your own medicine. That was so hype to watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was definitely probably the most underrated game, I think, of the entire week leading up to, like, if you look at it on paper, Express Knights, man, that's just another game in the SSBL. But probably one of the best games of the week to. Moving on, the Serpents get a huge win over the Wildcats, and the Wildcats now go on this little skid here, which we talked about last week. Jackson Moore injury, like how is this going to play into effect to Wildcats? They now are on this losing streak. Your thoughts on this Serpents win against the Wildcats?
We'll talk about in the week ahead how our game votes were, but we both thought this was going to be a one-run game. We thought it was going to be a higher scoring one-run game, but I mean, this game was on a knife's edge the entire time. And for the Wildcats, yeah, just a little bit of skid. I think for the Serpents, though, this is a huge win, especially with the Rollers resurging, especially with the Bombers taking a step back. This is huge for the Serpents that I personally thought that between them, the High Rollers and the Bombers, Serpents were the bottom of those three, and here they are at the top of the Phenoms. They are very much in a very good position to finish out the rest of this season on a high note and sneak in not only into the postseason but potentially even as a division winner.
Right, sitting there probably 2 or 3 seed, depending on how obviously the ball players and unicorns finish their seasons. But it's starting to get really crazy, which if the playoffs ended right now, Serpents would be facing the High Rollers, so a division matchup in your first round of the playoffs. That it's with how the playoffs are looking just as it stands today, it's pretty crazy. And that Serpents High Roller series we've seen. Do we have them? Do we have them swapped?
So actually, it would be Serpents Wildcats.
Serpents Wildcats.
It would actually. So
But-
just be a recap of what we just watched here.
But that is totally
Granted,
fine.
these positions change all the
do.
time, so who knows what's gonna happen. But I
But-
did like how you were talking about that. I saw it. I just changed it.
Anyways, but still, the Serpents, that's also something to think about as if winning the division. Like right now, the teams that you would potentially face are the High Rollers or the Wildcats, depending on how they kind of flip flop. That's a scary first round matchup for the Serpents. Moving on, this game, Angels, Stingers. This game, and I've mentioned it before. The Angels, their last victory was in October 2021.
6 months.
Two outs. The Stingers had 2 outs. That was like a full-on Texas Rangers World Series moment. They had 2 outs. They just needed to get one. And the Angels come back. They tie it at 5. And then the veteran, the future Hall of Famer, Tina Tygo, comes in with 2 runners on base.
Tygo with the go-ahead run 90 feet away. Ben Long is tense. That ball is skied into center, tracking back at the track, at the wall. It's out of here. The Angels lead 8-5.
Now batting the catcher.
And there
Number
could be
29.
no more winless teams.
That was nuts. 452. And here's the thing is that if you watch it initially off the bat, you think it might be almost like a pop-up that's that's right in front of the wall. But then it just carried and carried and carried. And it ends up being a 452-foot home run. Fisac, Stingers lose to the Angels, and the Angels get their first win after they snap a 10-game losing streak. What are your thoughts on this one?
So a little behind the scenes of that call off the bat, I knew. First of all, it was crazy that the Angels were even coming back
Right.
in the first place. Like the Stingers had put in, was it California? Yeah, they had put in California. It was gonna be that was it. They put in California. That was gonna be it. Bye bye Angels. Oh, Stingers didn't get that many runs. They don't need that many runs. It's gonna be fine. And then the Angels just started to get those hits.
Yep.
They started to get put runners on base. The second that went off the bat, I immediately got up, slammed my door shut because my roommate had just come in, and I knew I was about to do the loudest call this season. Like, I knew that I had to dedicate every fiber of my being into that call because that was ridiculous. The fact that, listen, the Angels have been tempting this for a little bit. This is not new. They put on something special against the Unicorns and lost that game, which that would have been even bigger if they
Right.
had actually upset the Unicorns. That was only a 5-4 loss. This game, they came out of nowhere. And like we were talking earlier in the week, like what has been the biggest upset this season? And for most of us, we're probably saying Retrievers Walkers. We think that Walkers win of the Retrievers probably the biggest. No question, Angels over Stingers. If you're the Stingers, first of all, if you're the Stingers, I don't agree with what Squared is saying where it says, congrats, ball players, you won the division. Stingers win one game here, and they're only a game back. And I believe that the ball players and the Stingers, they still have to play each other twice. So the Stingers actually still control their destiny for winning the Epic Novas, funnily enough. Um, Secondly, though, what is it about this Stingers team that they are 6-2? And they have looked pretty dang good in those wins. A 2-0 win over the Cyclones, 2-1 over the Unicorns, 6-2 over the Sparrows, 5-4 over the Bombers, 13-0 over the Knights, 14-8 over the Serpents, and yet their two losses are horrendous. 19-4 to the Wildcats, and now a 5-8 loss to the Angels. That is, I don't understand.
Oh,
And
but
that's what I love about this league is I don't understand. I don't understand, Josh. I don't
no,
understand.
it's and the thing is like you could hear at the very end of that call, you could hear the utter like shock that comes out of your
Yes.
voice. Like you were like what is going on? Like this because there was 2 outs. The rally was a 2-out rally. All they needed was one, and they couldn't get it. And the Angels end up pulling it off an 8-5 victory. That I just when I woke up on Thursday or not woke up when it was later in the day since I was an earlier game. Later in the day that Wednesday, I looked at what had happened, and I was like, wait, that says the Angels win. What happened? So I went back and I watched, and I was also seeing in the SSBL chat like just like the crazy stuff that was going on. I'm like, all right, I gotta like fast forward to like the end of this game. Like, what's going on? It was a 5-0 Stingers game, and all of a sudden it's a 3-5, 4-5, 5-5, and then Tina Tygo comes and hits a 3-run bomb and wins the game. It was the craziest thing that one of the biggest upsets I'd say even in SSBL history at this point, because I did not expect that one. I was expecting this to be Angels lose, Stingers move to 7-1. It gets really spicy at the top of the Novas, which it still is spicy. It's just a little bit mild, a little bit. It's not that habanero, a little spicy.
Yeah, and that means that there's not a single winless team in the Epic, and so the only two winless teams are the Moonshots and the Liberty, who are in the same division and still have to play each other twice. So and you are very much aware, we have never had a completely defeated team in the history of the SSBL. There have been some atrocious teams that have come through this league. None of them, not even what was it, season 3 Wildcats that went
1-13.
1-13. That was a bad team. None of them are as atrocious as the Moonshots, and the Liberty have just had some bad luck.
Yeah.
Are we only gonna have like? I think that this Moonshots team has the opportunity to do something special. By something special, I mean something very unspecial,
Right.
and that they go completely winless. So whatever the Moonshots Liberty play, both of those games, unless depending on whatever is going on that day, those need to be the games of the night. The first one because one of those teams will have a win. The second one because it'll be will that team be winless, and that's the stoppable force versus the movable object.
Right, and talking about the 1-13 teams, it was 1-13 in Wildcats in season 3. 2 seasons later, the Gauchos come in for
Yeah.
their second season in the franchise, 1-13 there, and then last season, Wrong Fielders go. Obviously, we upped it to 16 games, so one thing. So,
But could still be worse now
But
because you
they-
could be 1-15.
yes, it could be worse. But no, I am looking forward to that matchup of Moonshots and I'm trying to find it. Oh, we get one of the, I think for the first matchup, we get it on a Super Saturday. That's good.
Wow, that's a late. Yeah.
And then we get the
It's
next
week 13.
week 13, and it's already slotted in number 3. But we might have to, there's a lot of really good games that day.
Yeah. If so, depending on what happened, that first one definitely has to be game of the night. And then if the Moonshots or the Liberty are still because guess what? That's the last game of the season for both of them. So if there is one of those teams that is still winless entering that day, we're gonna have to have a heart to heart with Jesus there because we have to put that game as the game of the night if one of those teams are still winless. We have to.
Yeah, it all depends on how the rest of the epic shapes up.
Stingers, High Rollers, Bombers,
We
Wildcats.
might have to just
yes,
move
that'll
days.
be important.
We just might have to
Step
move
aside.
days. We just might have to move days. Move the Bombers, Wildcats to a different day or something. Put Wildcats Mythic on week 13, day 2, and move the Wildcats and Bombers to week 13, day 1.
Potentially, potentially, week 13, day 3 has the Overdraft Rom Fielders, but I feel like that's like the closest matchup there. So potentially we could switch it up so that Liberty Moonshots is week 13, day 3.
Yeah.
Or if we wanted it to be like last day, last game, like on that Super Saturday where it's the last remaining games, then we have the tie breaks, then we have the All-Star game. Maybe, what if it's the last game of the regular season? That would be...
So we just moved the Knights and Lumberjacks essentially to week 13, day 2.
Well, we would need to move the Knights Walkers up because the Knights do play the Walkers in week 13, day 3. Listen, let's see how this season goes, and we'll cross this bridge when we have to. But what we would do is we'd move Knights Walkers a day earlier, and then we would move Knights Lumberjacks a day earlier, and then we would put the Liberty Moonshots as that game there. That's what we would do.
Yep, that's sounds good to me. We're talking weeks and weeks
Before
ahead.
the play-in games. Before the play-in
yeah,
game.
we're talking weeks
Or
and
maybe
weeks ahead.
after the play-in games. Maybe we do it after the play-in games, before the All-Star game. Who knows? They've gotta, one of those teams have got to be winless when they enter that, though. So we'll cross that bridge when we cross it.
Yeah. Moving on, we are now into our segments, our fun segments, overrated, underrated. We'll start it off here. And we started off with the Mojo Down, which it started with, I don't even know who posted
So okay, so
Go ahead,
no
origin story.
one sees it, but it happened in the minors league office. So Aggie, and I can screenshot this, and then we can like all have it for history. But this was actually what started in the minors league office. We'll post it in Jacked. But Aggie put a question mark next to Live Constant because like sometimes in the game how sometimes in the game. Hold on, yeah, I'll stay still. That way it like matches up. Sometimes in the game like it'll have like the tense for like an exhibition game, even though like it's an exhibition one-off game. But Live Constant had it on her, and so Aggie was like, "Hey, do we know what it is?" And so Square was like, "It's because she's constantly tense." And
Yep.
then I was like, "I think it's in a bug. Doesn't actually make her tense in game." And then Aggie said, "Maybe that represents her having anxiety in the locker room before the game." And then he said, "Me every day," and he had this screenshot of it. And I said, "That's the new SSBL meme." And so then we just like, and I'll also take these and post these. Um, and we'll have this in Jacked. That way people can see the iteration of it. And I'm sending these to you. That way we have access to it. Um, but that's how it started. I love it. I honestly think it has the potential to be like the number one meme in the SSBL, if I'm being
Underrated,
honest.
underrated. Let's
A
just go ahead. It's
completely
completely
underrated.
underrated. It is now available as well. If you are a Twitch subscriber, you can now use the Mojo Down vote in the chat. So when there is some crazy kind of dud moments, you got Mojo Down. You can post it in the chat. Make sure you use your Twitch Prime sub if you have one. If not, make sure you do subscribe to description here. Underrated for sure, and I'll get it off your face for now.
Aw.
And we'll move on to midday stream. So obviously with the Super Saturdays, we have our kind of late morning, 10 a.m. like that time that the block one starts. But this midday stream, 1 o'clock Central Daylight Time now. Thank you. Uh, Central Time. Is this an underrated time slot for the SSBL on a weekday, the middle of the week, 1 p.m.? What are your thoughts? Is this an underrated time slot that we should maybe even just consider going forward?
So here's the thing: is that for those of you who don't know, Squared is going to be stepping away from streaming for the foreseeable future. He is making a move to a brand new swishy job, and so he needs to put the focus on there. Which is also my call out too. If you would love to be interested with streaming, let us know because we are always looking for new commentators. We'll put you through the process of vetting you. But with that, like as of right now, then the only main streamers are myself and Wit, and we already have 3 games a week with Super Saturdays, 5 games a week. You can do it on occasion, as well as we do have both Aggie and
Dean.
Dean can also do it. So I think having the flexibility to do a midday stream, especially for you with how much like your family life is important to you and being able to have those evenings for them, like it not only opens up the door for you to do more streaming, but I think it opens up the door for more people to do more streaming. Because here's the thing: at the bottom line, for a Super Saturday week, there are 15 hours of games going on every week. In a non Super Saturday week, actually, yeah, in a non Super Saturday week, there's about 10 hours of streaming going on. That's a lot to catch up on, in addition to Jacked going up, in addition to all of the minors action that happens on Sundays. So there's so much SSBL. Like there's a full work week of SSBL action to watch every week,
Right.
which I don't know how you feel about that, but that's crazy to think about that there are like every single week on a Super Saturday week, there's like about 40 hours of content of SSBL coming to your tubes, dude. So having the ability to do the midday streams makes it so much easier to get those games through, as well as to open the door to new viewers as well, because people can always go back and watch the games.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think it's underrated.
I mean, I agree. I'm looking at the actual stream stats of week 6. This was the highest for the max viewer. We maxed at 13 for both day 1 and day 2, then hit 14 on day 3. So also had 69 live views, up 3 from day 2, as well as up 15 from day 1. So I think it's underrated. It's a nice time slot, and as you said, we could potentially bring new faces to watch the SSBL. Brings new people. Definitely underrated, and might have to consider doing a midday stream here in a week or so.
We might need it next week because
we'll,
we got Super Saturday.
we'll
Not
see.
to put
Yeah.
you on the spot.
No, we'll see. We'll move on to our final topic in overrated, underrated. Angels upset. Is this an overrated upset, underrated upset? Obviously, again, I was Texas Rangers fan. I know how this feels. And 2 outs away, which obviously that was a world. But 2 outs away, can't get that final out. Angels just put up a ton of runs and win 8-5. Is this an upset that's a bit overrated in the grand scheme of things, or kind of even just rated accordingly to kind of how it should be?
I think it is underrated as the biggest upset, not only this season, but potentially that we've seen in a while. I can't, off of the top of my head, remember more of a one sided upcoming matchup that completely got flipped like that. Because I think this is like the first season, like we've had tanking teams in the past. We have never seen tanks like this. And again, if the Moonshots beat anybody except for the Liberty or the Express, I still think that's like a huge upset as well, because that's how bad the Moonshots are.
Right.
Um, so I think it's underrated in terms of an upset. I do think it's overrated in terms of the effect on the Stingers, because again, the Stingers are very much still in their own control to win their division. Stingers are technically almost in control of winning the number 1 seed in the Epic. Will they? It's going to be very hard to do now that you have that loss. But like, it's a 16-game season. They've already had one bad loss. What's another bad loss? Listen, as much as Square doesn't want to admit this, if Square could get 6 good wins in between devastating, huge losses, I think he would take that. I think he would take that any day of the week.
No, absolutely. I do think it's an overrated in the same sense that you're meaning in the sake for the Stingers. It's a loss. It sucks. It's gonna sting for a little bit for the Stingers, but
I hate that you
it's
said that.
yeah, I know. It's not something to really dwell on. Just kind of move on to the next game. You still are, like you said, they have like so much control and palm in their hand. But it is, I want to say, the biggest upset, and I say that because of the 2 outs. That's why. Regardless of who it is, whether the matchup, the fact that that was probably the craziest comeback that we've seen in SSBL history, but the biggest upset, 2 outs, and just done. Which we move on now. Panic and chill. We have the first topic as like 2 teams in one, because there are 2 teams that are struggling, both having a very rough time in the past few weeks here. Bombers, Wildcats, we'll kind of put both. Bombers, what are we thinking? Panic or chill?
I'm actually for both of these teams. I'm gonna go with actually, you know what? For Bombers, I'm gonna go with chill. For Wildcats, I'm gonna go with panic. I think that's purely because the Wildcats have played 9 games. The Bombers have only played 7 games, and I think that really does matter.
Yes.
Uh, the thing though is that both of them are in a very, very tight race for the postseason. But again, between the Bombers, Serpents, High Rollers, and Wildcats, one of those teams is not making postseason. And that is really, really difficult to figure out which team it is that's going to be on the chopping block. Again, I would have said Serpents at the beginning of the season, but they're starting to move themselves into a more comfortable position. And and man, it's just gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough. But I'm doing chill for the Bombers, panic if you are the Wildcats.
I'm actually agreeing with you on this one, just because like I looked at the Bombers lost on this skid, and I look at their schedule, and they haven't even hit the halfway point yet. There's nothing to freak out about. Like, where you guys literally control your own destiny. You're just like a half a game back of a playoff spot. You still are in. You're totally fine. Nothing to panic about yet. Obviously, injuries suck if you are the Bombers. They have been plagued with injuries this season. But I'm not panicking yet. I think we got plenty. We have 2 massive games against the Serpents. biggest rival in history of the SSBL. I think there's still time for the bounce back. But the Wildcats, though, I'm panicking because, like you said, they're already at the 9 game spot, and as you said, we've talked about on every single episode, you have got to win teams outside of your and lost twice to the Unicorns, and it's now up to really facing those other teams in the division. And the Wildcats, they might fall. They're already like what the seed right now. That that's
Yeah.
that's the thing is they are so close to being. They were like the number one team for like the first 3 weeks, basically outside the Unicorns prior to facing them, and all of a sudden now they've fallen. Now they're the 6th seed. You would have asked me like 3 episodes ago that. All right, do you think the Wildcats are going to potentially miss out on playoffs? I probably would have been like, I don't think so. They'll be number 4, but they're teetering with 5 and 6, potentially even out. I'm panicking if I'm the.
Yeah, it's just gonna be tough. It's just gonna be, especially because as if the Stingers do hold on in the Novas, like maybe there is a situation with the Bombers miss out. But I think what it does go to show though is that the current model that we have, where only 6 teams make postseason, is finally in good balance. Because in seasons past, we've had teams that really don't deserve it make it in. We've had teams at like 6, 7, and 8 because they'll play a play-in game and they'll win it, make postseason. Whereas now, like you need to be good to get in. And it makes it so that those matchups are even more crucial, especially because as the 6th seed, you face off against a division winner. So I think it's the new SSBL era now, and it's gonna be really interesting in like a season or two in which you don't have like 4 tanking teams a division.
Yeah, because the farm teams for some of those are actually stacked. Monstars, I think, will come out of the Epic. Some teams that are going to fall off from aging. A lot of teams, all players don't even have a single pick. Actually, they might have grabbed one, but they had, if I'm not mistaken, they don't have a single pick either of the next drafts besides compensation pick. So that's an issue. Like the Mythic can out of nowhere. Sparrows, they're 2 and 6. They're in a very tough division. Do I think they're going to ever make playoffs? I don't think so. But they can
I'm
compete.
gonna I'm gonna real quick. The Bombers have 4 picks in season 9 and 3 first rounders, so I think they're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think the Bombers are fine. Which actually, speaking of the Bombers, we'll move on to the next topic.
They also have 6 in season 10. I think you're thinking of the ball players. The ball players have 0 picks this draft and the next.
Yeah, so the Bombers should be chill.
Just to fact check. Just to fact check.
Just moving on though to the next topic, which we'll kind of explain a little. This is talking about the trade for those veterans, Murph Kellys of the superstars that are. It's really those season 4 veterans this season that are like coming out like they still have the stats to really do something, but they're not doing anything. And obviously Murph Kelly falls to an injury. These teams that have traded for these veterans, like is this something to panic or stay chill if you're trading away, especially picks for these veterans and they're just not really performing?
I'm gonna go with it's overrated, and I want to do that while also recapping the 3 trades that happened before or that's how happened since the last recording. A reminder that the trade window closes on May 1st. So the Walkers get round 3 Marty Carr and Fingas in exchange of Toe Jam. The Lumberjacks got Archie Conrad back from free agency. The Walkers got a round 3 and Ura Irons for Chris Slump. And then the Liberty got Tanya Marzo, Libby Sickley, Bo Dan, Jorge Tostada, and Braden in exchange of Braden Case. I actually think that it's overrated on both sides.
But are you
I
panicking
think
or are you chilling?
it's panicking and chilling. So I'm panicking. I'm panicking because I forgot which segment it was. But I'm also panicking if I'm on both sides because I do think that there is that advantage of having your players in the minors doing well, getting good, so on and so forth. But I do think it's a little bit more weighted than we think in terms of like genuinely how much better is it to have someone in the minors if you're not giving them camps. I do think that players do get better in the minors without a doubt. However, I don't think it's as much of an increase in terms of what they are giving up in terms of these really, really old players that then just turn their minors into a ghost town the next season. I mean, and the reason why I say is if you look at the records right now of in the minors, the Spartans, the Wingbats, the Good Boys, the Chippers are 0-4, but that's because they have nobody. Um, but you know what I mean? Like they're these teams that have,
Storm,
you
that's
know,
another one.
yeah, the teams that have sold themselves to be good. Like they got all these old players that they could have these players in the minors. Those players in the minors come up, but now they don't necessarily have a lot coming up afterwards. So I do think it's a panic there, but I obviously definitely think it's a panic in terms of like what you're getting in compensation. Like a round 3 in irons for Slump, a round 3 car and fingers for Toe Jam. Like these aren't great trades, to be honest, for either side. So I'm panicking for this. I can't believe I forgot
Hey,
which
but we
segment
do
we're in.
this in one take. No, no, we do no
That's the
edits.
jack,
No
baby.
edits.
That's the SSBL. We do it one take. You like it, you take it. You say thank you, sir. I'll have another.
But we'll go ahead. I'll just point out one thing because I think this is freaking hilarious. Because you mentioned, that all your veterans in the majors and like you can get progression and all. The Justice have like all the veterans and they're 0-4 in the minors. They're 0-4. So combined, from that entire organization is 0-10 in the history of their franchises.
Are they they're the only in the history of the SSBL, the Liberty organization are the only organization to never record a win in
Yep.
majors or minors.
Yep.
Granted, a lot of those just moved down. Like they were
Yeah.
just able to move 4 position players down. So we'll see how that affects it. But it is funny that they are 0-10 as an organization. That
0-10.
sucks.
0-10. Yikes. I don't really know what to say. What else to say about that? We'll move on. They have probably been here more than once, at least. This is probably
We
the
don't know
second.
what to think of them.
Yeah, it's the overdrafts. They lose to the Retrievers, which was a big loss. It might come back to bite them. Unintended. There's so many puns I'm accidentally doing here. It's gonna come back to bite them, because they're losing to the team that they're in the race with. It's a 2-team race in that division, and in that loss could come back and haunt you. And I think at this rate, I am panicking if I'm the overdraft. I think they're struggling to get these wins. You lose to what's eventually going to be your division rival. I'm panicking. I think it's time to finally panic if I'm the over.
I heartily disagree. And the reason why I say this is that there's 6 wins, only one of them was within 5 or let's see, that's 7, that's 8, that's 9, that's 7, that's 8. So only one win has been less than 7 runs and that's or less than 6 runs and that's the Walkers 5-4 win. 10-3 over the Moonshots, 11-3 over the Dragons, 11-2 over the Knights, or 11-2 over the Liberty, 12-5 over the Knights, 11-3 over the Express. Their only losses have been to good teams. A 1-run loss to the Gauchos, a 2-run loss to the Serpents, a 2-run loss to the Retrievers. I think that this is a team that is doing perfectly fine. I still think even though the Retrievers are in control of the division, I still think that they are the odds-in favorite to win it, especially when you look at the remaining schedule. They play the Retrievers, which is a toughie. The Skulls, which should be a walkover. Treevers should be a toughie. Moonshots, Liberty. Romfields is like a medium, and then the Vikings I would have as about a medium. So that in right there, in my mind, they're already sitting at 9-3. So I think they're gonna be fine. If I'm being honest here, I think they're chilling. I think we're chilling.
I'm still panicking just because this isn't necessarily thinking that they're not going to make like postseason or anything. And I still think they might even win the division, but I'm panicking because you're losing against these teams that are like you're losing against the good teams. Which when you get to the playoffs, you're playing the good teams, and you got to be able to get those wins against that competition. Their strength of schedule, looking at it right now, isn't that great. Obviously, like if you look at
Well,
it,
yeah, they play in the icons.
right? But like even then, the Knights, Express, Walkers, it's their strength so far. The last 4 games, 3 of 4 games have been the tough ones, right? But I'm still panicking just because they're losing against the competitive teams, which once you get to postseason, you got to show up. Luckily, it's a best of 3, but the overdrafts are also the only team in SSBL history outside the expansion teams to make the postseason.
That will change this season. But
We
yeah, it is of note. They're the only ones to never win a postseason game after making it. Has
we
every team now made postseason? I think every team's now
every
made postseason.
team has made postseason. The overdrafts are the only ones though to not win a game, not necessarily a series, just a game within it. They've made it once, and so that's why I'm panicking as well. But we move on to bringing in the Miners conversation. Miners team, the Jungle King. They have won 19 straight games. They face the Monstars 4-0 to start their franchise in the minors. Is it time to like kind of panic more so like in like anxiousness and like nervousness like with that record on the line, or are you still kind of chill because you're still sitting at the top of your division or a game ahead of the crawlers for right now?
I'm panicking because that is definitely something that could end. And so everybody needs to tune in. I know it's Easter Sunday. We might see if we can get whoever's recording that block of games to maybe upload that game and have it go live at like 8 p.m. Central on Sunday night, maybe just to like highlight it more in that way while people are doing their Easter things on Easter
Yeah,
Sunday.
I am all for
It
it.
doesn't take. Yeah, so I think that would be a really, really good point to make. So I can actually get on that for the Miners League office and tell them to do that. But I think just in terms of I'm chill if I'm the fans because I cannot wait to see that matchup. I'll be honest, the only Miners games I've watched this season are the Raptors. And so this will probably be the first Miners game that I watch that's not the Raptors this season is that matchup because that's gonna be potentially like a matchup for the Miners postseason as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the current postseason picture, obviously we're testing out a format for the postseason here. We're kind of they're like the XFL for us, right? XFL, the XFL, the minor league is like the XFL. We're just gonna test. You guys do the new rules. We'll see how they works, and then maybe in a couple of seasons we'll into the majors. But obviously we have the play in with 7 and 8 seeds within the conference. The winner plays the second seed. Jungle King sitting at the top, 1 seed getting a bye. They face right now the Crawlers, of course, a pop. So I'm actually really excited for the Miners playoffs. Now that we're talking Miners real quick, I'm actually excited. I'm very curious to see how this format really works. 1 game play in. Then you have this is like the NFL. This is similar to the NFL's model, except for we have 8 teams, 7 participating. So I'm actually really excited to see how this. Moving on, week ahead, Super Saturday week. Gosh, so many games.
I'm sitting pretty after last week. I was 3-0 on my get this. I think we're officially now. We've like sort of did it in the first couple of episodes of like, at first it was pick the game that you're looking forward to, and then it
Right.
was, hey, who do you think is gonna win that one game? And now, like last week was the first time where we're like, let's make predictions and let's make score predictions for it. So I ended up winning 3-0 last week. I picked the Gauchos over the Dragons. You also picked the Gauchos over the Dragons. I picked the Retrievers over the Overdrafts. You picked the Overdrafts over the Retrievers. And then I picked the Serpents over the Wildcats, which, again, as we said before, we both had it as one-run games, but you had it 8-7, I had it 9-8, so much more lower scoring affairs. So I'm excited to see how my record stands up to this week. I have already made my selections along with my scores. You're finishing up your scores, and you've already made your selections. So I'm excited to see if I can continue my streak here, and if I can be then a profit for the SSBL to list.
Yeah, we start off with day one. Game of the night presented by Turtle Beach, presented by Turtle Beach. The wrong fielders at Retrievers. This is one of those matchups that's probably a lot of people will lean Retrievers because of the wrong fielders falling off. But you and I are not on that train. We are
No.
all for the Wongs. We are all here for it. You have them winning 6-2. I have a 5-3 matchup. I think it's a little bit closer than a 4-run ball game. I do think that, as do you. I think it will be a little bit closer. 5-3 my final.
And I think for me, this is purely because the Retrievers have Pennyfold on the mound, the wrong fielders have Blurns. And I think that's, I mean, for the wrong fielders, getting your ace on the mound in that kind of matchup, where so the Retrievers, your number 3 coming in, I just think this is a recipe for the wrong fielders to get back on track.
Yep.
Unfortunately for me.
No, I agree. And this next matchup, day 2, this one's a big time matchup. Toe Jam making his first appearance as a lumberjack, facing off against Hot Mike, which Hot Mike has been such a crucial piece to the success the past season and a half. I think it's what it's been for the Vikings. So we both have the loser with 1 run. You have the Vikings winning 3-1. I have the Lumberjacks winning 6-1. I do think that you add Wreck Dreams into the lineup. I think he might show up here against the Vikings. I think this is fine, like his first game that he'll show up the entire season. Wreck Dreams, and I say that because I traded his ass away. So 6-1 the final for me. I think the Lumberjacks will take it. And Toe Jam, I think Hot Mike, that's such a tough matchup from a pitching perspective, but I think the offense of the Lumberjacks is just a little bit too powerful compared to the Vikings.
I had the Vikings purely because this is at Shaka. I think that's going to really benefit. Like the Lumberjacks have got some good bats, but if those balls don't go yard in Shaka, those are easily caught. I think the Vikings have the outfield to make up for that distance. I think that the Vikings could pull an upset here. And then we disagree on 2 games, and the next one we also disagree.
Yeah, and the next one, another big one, because the Cyclones are kind of, they always are getting like the wrong end of like they always come up so short. Like they come up short every game. It's like super close against really tough teams. They face off against the Serpents at home. You have the Cyclones winning 7-4. I have the Serpents winning 3-2. I just think that this game is going to be one that for the longest time it's just 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, and then there's just going to be like a 3-run inning, and then some. And I'm going to think it's the Serpents are going to start that off 3-run inning. Cyclones are going to put 2 in like the bottom of the 8th, and that's the ball game. Nothing in the 9th. That's my prediction.
For me, Doug Kelly returns to the Cyclones. Actually, that's not Morello on the mound there because she is out for 4 weeks. Who is that actually for the Cyclones that's going to be coming in? I think it's Rachel Kim. Rachel Kim is actually on the mound. No, I'm sticking to it.
Sticking to it. Okay.
I'm sticking to it. I'm a man of my word. Listen, I'm not making these decisions. Fate is telling me, and fate is telling me that the Rachel Kim led Cyclones with Doug Kelly back in the lineup are going to win 7-4. This is nothing against Dean. This is just fate telling me. I am just the vessel in which fate protrudes.
No, I'm totally with that. Um, I just put in my score for the next game. It's an interesting score. Um, it's Gauchos at Retrievers. This is one that, in my opinion, the Retrievers need to win more than the Gauchos need to win. And you and I say that's not gonna happen. You have them losing 11-1. I just put in my score 8-0. I just think Hattie May is just gonna shut them down. I think it's gonna, and I truly think we're gonna get a shutout here. Hattie May is just gonna put a
Hattie May is ridiculous, as well as the fact that the Retrievers have Newsgirl on the mound. So I just think it's a recipe for the Gauchos to really blow this one out here.
Yeah, and I personally have a vested interest in Gauchos. So here's why. Fun fact story here. Phillips is my daughter. The name is morphed after her real name. Sopapia Phillips is my daughter in real life. That's her character in the game. Okay. Then we have Jay Watt. That's me. Okay. Hattie May is my like almost 2-year-old niece. That's who Hattie May. So this is a like a Watley
A Watley
here.
affair.
Yeah, this is the Watley team here for me. So I'm obviously going to stick with the Gauchos, especially if Hattie May is on the map.
Yeah, it's man. It used to be the Skulls that was the home for the Watleys, but now it's Gauchos at Retrievers, a Watley affair.
It's still there. My 5-year-old nephew is Bimmerman, and the reason why his name is Bimmerman because that's how he pronounced his name of Benjamin. He couldn't pronounce Watley, so it was Botley. That's just how it came, and that became his other one. I also have another nephew in the league. His name is Woden Wayne, which is named Logan Lane. Benjamin couldn't pronounce Logan at all, so it was Woden. So Woden Wayne it was. But my wife Alicia Kim is also on the Skulls. So Alicia Kim, we have Bimmerman on the Skulls. Those are the two teams that's the Watley. Also have my other daughter, that is Heidi Bear, who is in the minors, I believe. Got called up. Stingers are.
Yeah.
So Heidi Bear is the other one. So there's just a few family members that gotta get in. My granddad's in the league. The other side of my family, I have Sandra Lee. That's my other grandmother. I have Billy Glenn though. That's my granddad. So there's my entire family is in. I know that there's dogs in here for people. There's cats here for people. I have almost my entire family.
Yeah, I've got me. Liam Freishak isn't a real person, but it's just Will's brother in it, and then we have Lucy Freishak, which is my cat. So I don't have a wife. I don't have children. So I put in a cat and a fictional brother.
that is totally fine. I mean, we also have I think Elder has some of his animals in the league. I know the Barkers are in the league for Aggie.
Barker.
So there's a lot. I love the SSBL. Which, by the way, I'm gonna go and say this: there's no more juniors. There's no this next. I'm gonna put like a full restriction this coming season. You can't have a similar last name. You can't have Yoshito or Yoshida. We're not having that. We are going completely OG.
Similar names.
I'm going to throw in, league office will throw in about a good bit of just randomness that could be food related. We obviously, someone was an actual person, Chicken Tendo, who put that one in. We could put in a bunch of random meme names, and backyard baseball players will make
a jar of mayo.
Yeah. There you go.
Jaro Mayo. I'm putting that in right now so
Jaro
I don't
Mayo.
forget it. All right, get to the last
So
game.
we'll go to the last game, day 4, block 2. This game, I think this is a tough one, and we both have the Unicorns beating the High Rollers in this one. You have it 4-2. Oh, it's at Shaka. I'm gonna go 1 run lower, Bob. 3-2. I think it's gonna be very
Me
similar.
too. Wow.
3-2. I think it's gonna be very similar to that of the Gauchos game. If I'm being honest with you, I think that's just gonna be really close throughout. It's gonna be Iron Balls who comes through and puts the Unicorns on top, whether it's a walk off or not. But oh man, Iron Balls, Woody Walker, to his heroics, have that corn magic spoken of previous.
I mean, I think this is just a unicorns taking care of business. Nothing really to note for it, but the unicorns take care of business, but the high rollers do make it interesting.
Yeah, I agree. So we obviously have to pick. It's now time for the winner of this week's Turtle Beach headset from watching Game 3. Game of the night presented by Turtle Beach, and the winner of this one is talking for Pulverizer has won Turtle Beach headset. So thanks, Dean, for tuning in and saying here many times as you can. So I appreciate everyone who has joined in. Turtle Beach has been such a great partner to us so far. I'm looking forward to the remainder of season. There's a lot that we have planned, as well as the postseason All-Star game. There's a lot that we got planned that just is not announced. But I did in the lore suggestions announce one, say that there was a little rumblings of an announcement, and we'll go ahead and say this. It's not like anything too major, but you'll starting, I want to say next week, you'll be able to buy the merchandise on our official website, ssbl.tv/shop. This allows us as an organization to control it a little bit more. Obviously, everyone Sector 6, it's nothing to do with anything at Sector. The fact is that there's a little bit of conflict of interest from a payout, like a payment standpoint. Like, it's not like a team Sector 6 is going to get their percentage. It's me. So me going to finance and saying, hey, I need need the money, that's not going to happen. So we're going to just move it on over. We're going to run it ourselves. We're going to have the Mojo Down shirt. We're going to have the jacked shirt. We're going to have We're going to have all the memes that we
hold on. Mojo Down though, as a hat, as a dad hat, really slaps.
Yeah,
That
I
really
slaps. I think we might have to go ahead and make that happen. So that's the announcement. 6 series jerseys will still be on Sector 6. You can still buy them there, which is exciting because they're probably the most comfortable jerseys to wear. But we are going to just have fun with our merchandise. There's a lot of things. There's mugs. Would you like a Mojo Down mug? I would. I would love to drink my coffee in a Mojo Down mug.
Whoa, hold on. This is a little bit highbrow and it'd be expensive. But if you could find the heat changing mugs where it starts when you heat it up, it's Mojo Down, and then as you drink it, the Mojo Down goes away. We would probably never meet the minimum order for those types of mugs, and they would probably be expensive. But I still want to put that as like a home run hit of if that's like
what we can do there. It's like a blacked out cup, and then you put in your coffee. It gets hot, and then all of a sudden, down just starts creeping up. I am all for it. I think that needs to happen. So I will look into that one. But
order of 10 units, it'll cost like $500 a unit, but we'll have it.
No, but
at the VLTV store, we got everything.
There's a lot that we could really do. Anything, there's headbands. Imagine if you and I episode of Jacked both have SSBL headbands on that have, whether it's all of the logos, which would be a really cool headband, or just the dragons and the skulls logo. We're sporting it here, right here on Jacked. I think there's gonna be a lot of fun, more merch suggestions as well from a design perspective, whether it's shirt design. There was the MAGA shirt, but it was Make Alan Hiker Great Again. It was MAHGA, the MAGA shirt. Like there are so many fun things that we can do. So if you have any merch suggestions from a shirt perspective, put them down chat in the comments below, or put them into the merch suggestions in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, it's also in the description. Go join the Discord. You're missing out. There's an entire
How
lore.
convenient is that?
There is a lore suggestions channel where you can learn so much about everybody in the league, and that everyone hates Billy O'Connell. So that's it for me. Thanks everyone for joining us here on Jacked. I'm gonna end it there.
Can I real quick? I want to do a bit. I want to do a bit at the end.
Go for it.
And we'll see how people react to it and how you react to it. I want to do a dad joke at the end of each Jacked, but it's SSBL related. Okay? Okay. Why do some people not like watching Jacked?
Why?
Because it just drag on and on and on and on.
Hey, but it is not rigged. It is not a 3-hour podcast.
Actually, the better joke would be why did we switch Jack for rigged?
Because it drag-ons. I like it. Make sure you put your own dad jokes in the comments now. Let's see what you guys have.
Or DM them to me, and I'll shout you out and use yours.
Submit your own Jacked comments. And like I said, Billy O'Connell, the most hated player in SSBL history. My name is Jwatt alongside Fisac. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Keep on rigging, everybody.